When billionaire Lucas Carter leaves his wallet on a restaurant table to test a struggling waitress, he doesn't expect the outcome to be life-changing. What she does and the secret she hides will leave you shocked and deeply moved. Stay tuned for this emotional roller coaster of trust, betrayal, and redemption. Welcome to our video. My name is Mark, and I'm so glad you're here with us today. This story is packed with twists, emotions, and an unexpected ending that will stay with you long after you've heard it. Before we start, tell me, where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments below. If you love stories that keep you on the edge of your seat, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give this video a big thumbs up, and click the bell icon so you never miss a story like this one. It was a chilly Thursday afternoon when Lucas Carter walked into the small, cozy diner on the corner of Maple Street. Dressed casually in jeans and a leather jacket, he looked nothing like the billionaire businessman he was. Lucas had built his empire with sheer determination and a sharp mind, but he had a peculiar habit that set him apart from other wealthy men. He loved testing people's honesty. The diner wasn't particularly busy that day. A couple of truck drivers sat by the window, sipping coffee, while a young couple shared a plate of fries in the corner booth. Lucas scanned the room with curiosity. That's when his eyes landed on Emily. Emily was in her late 20s, with auburn hair tied into a messy bun and a warm smile that seemed to light up the room. She was serving a family of 4, balancing plates with precision and offering polite small talk despite looking visibly tired. Lucas noticed the dark circles under her eyes and the worn-out shoes peeking from beneath her uniform. She's the one, Lucas thought to himself as he took a seat near the counter. Good afternoon. What can I get for you today? Emily asked, her voice cheerful despite her exhaustion. Just a coffee, Lucas replied, flashing a polite smile. As Emily poured his coffee, Lucas decided to strike up a conversation. Busy day? Emily chuckled softly. Always is. But it keeps me moving, so I can't complain. Lucas nodded, pretending to be just another customer. But in his mind, he was already planning the test. After finishing his coffee, he casually stood up, reached into his pocket for some cash, and deliberately placed his leather wallet on the edge of the table. Emily didn't notice it at first. She was busy wiping down another table. But as Lucas walked out of the diner, she turned and saw it, a sleek black wallet sitting in plain sight. Her heart skipped a beat. Picking it up, she noticed how heavy it felt. A quick peek inside revealed a thick stack of bills, along with an ID card that read Lucas Carter. She froze. Emily's mind raced. Should she run after him and return it immediately? Or should she hold on to it until he came back? The money could cover her father's overdue medical bills, but the guilt of taking it weighed heavily on her. She slipped the wallet into her apron pocket, her hands trembling. Lucas, watching from his car across the street, smirked. The real test had just begun. Emily stood behind the counter, her mind in turmoil. The wallet felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds in her apron pocket. She glanced at the door, half expecting Lucas to rush back in, but the diner remained calm. She could hear the clatter of dishes in the kitchen and the soft hum of customers chatting. What are you going to do, Emily? She muttered under her breath. Her conscience battled fiercely with her desperation. She knew the right thing to do was to return the wallet, but the cash inside could pay for at least one of her father's overdue treatments. A part of her rationalized that Lucas, being wealthy, wouldn't miss it. Yet, another part reminded her that taking it was wrong, no matter the circumstances. Just as Emily wiped her hands and decided to hand the wallet to her manager, the door to the diner jingled open. Lucas walked back in, his expression calm and composed, as if he hadn't realized his wallet was missing. He strolled to the counter and gave her a friendly nod. Hey, miss, he said casually, I think I might have left something here. Emily's breath caught. Her fingers instinctively moved toward her apron pocket, but she quickly withdrew her hand. Forcing a smile, she responded, Oh? What did you lose? My wallet, Lucas replied, leaning slightly against the counter. His tone was nonchalant, but his sharp gaze searched her face for any hint of guilt. Emily hesitated for a moment before answering, her voice steady. I haven't seen a wallet, but I'll check around. Maybe one of the other staff members picked it up. Lucas raised an eyebrow, intrigued by her response. Thanks. I appreciate it, he said, stepping back to give her space. Emily turned toward the back room, clutching her apron tightly. Her heart raced as she tried to decide her next move. She couldn't keep the wallet, it wasn't who she was. But returning it now, after lying, would only make her look suspicious. As she reached for the manager's office door, another waitress, Susan, walked by. Noticing Emily's distressed expression, Susan leaned in. You okay? She whispered. Emily nodded quickly. Yeah, just a lot on my mind. Susan glanced at her apron and smirked. Found something interesting, didn't you? She said in a low voice, her tone laced with insinuation. Emily froze. What do you mean? Susan leaned closer, her smirk widening. You think I haven't seen what's in your pocket? Careful, Emily. People talk. Before Emily could respond, Lucas stepped back to the counter. Any luck? He asked, his voice light but probing. Emily swallowed hard. Not yet, she replied, her smile faltering. Lucas's expression remained polite, but there was a flicker of doubt in his eyes. He decided to play along for now, curious to see how far she would take this. As Lucas turned to leave, Susan whispered something to him that made his jaw tighten. His easy demeanor shifted slightly, though he quickly masked it. Thank you, miss, Lucas said to Emily, his tone kind but layered with something she couldn't quite decipher. Then he walked out of the diner. Emily felt her knees weaken. She turned to Susan, who gave her a knowing look and walked away. What had she said to Lucas? Outside, Lucas sat in his car, watching the diner from a distance. Something about this waitress intrigued him. But what Susan had whispered in his ear added a new layer to the mystery. She's not as innocent as she seems. Emily's shift dragged on, each minute feeling heavier than the last. The wallet in her pocket seemed to burn like a hidden flame, its presence impossible to ignore. She couldn't shake the feeling that Lucas knew more than he was letting on. And Susan's cryptic comment only added to her anxiety. As the afternoon turned into evening, Emily finally decided she couldn't bear the guilt any longer. She slipped into the staff break room and pulled out the wallet, her hands trembling. Opening it once more, she stared at the crisp bills, the sleek ID card, and a business card tucked neatly into one of the slots. Lucas Carter, Carter Industries, the card read. Her stomach dropped. He wasn't just wealthy, he was a billionaire. The name rang a bell. Carter Industries was famous for its charitable contributions and ethical business practices. What am I doing? Emily muttered to herself, slamming the wallet shut. Just as she resolved to return it, Susan walked in. Her eyes immediately darted to the wallet in Emily's hand. So, you were planning to keep it? Susan asked, her tone dripping with judgment. No, I wasn't. Emily shot back, her voice louder than she intended. I was going to return it. Susan folded her arms, leaning against the doorframe. Sure you were. But if that's true, why didn't you just hand it back when he came in? Emily opened her mouth to respond, but the truth stuck in her throat. She didn't have a good answer. Before the conversation could escalate, the break room door opened, and the manager, Mr. Howard, stepped in. His expression was stern. Emily, can I see you in my office? Emily's heart sank. Wordlessly, she followed him, clutching the wallet tightly. Meanwhile, outside the diner, Lucas watched the scene unfold from his car. He had a clear view of the break room through the large diner window. He noticed Emily's distraught expression as she followed her manager, clutching the wallet. Interesting, he muttered to himself. His phone buzzed, interrupting his thoughts. It was a message from his assistant, Claire. Mr. Carter, are you sure about this test? It seems a bit harsh. Lucas smirked, typing back. Trust me, Claire. This isn't just about honesty. It's about character. Let's see what she does next. In the manager's office, Emily stood awkwardly in front of Mr. Howard's desk, clutching the wallet. He leaned back in his chair, studying her intently. "I've been told you found a customer's wallet," he began, his tone calm but firm. Emily's face flushed. "I was going to return it," she said quickly, placing the wallet on his desk. "I didn't mean to. I just panicked." Mr. Howard picked up the wallet, flipping it open briefly before setting it back down. "Panic is understandable, Emily. But you should have come to me right away. This isn't like you." Tears welled up in Emily's eyes. "I know. I'm sorry. I didn't know what to do." Howard sighed. "I'll return this to the customer myself. You can go back to your shift." Emily nodded, relieved but still shaken. As she turned to leave, Mr. Howard called after her, "And Emily, this will be noted." Her heart sank further. Noted? Would this cost her her job? Outside, Lucas observed as Mr. Howard left the diner with the wallet. He smiled to himself. The test wasn't over yet. Lucas stepped out of his car and walked back into the diner. Emily, still shaken, nearly dropped the coffee pot she was holding when she saw him. "Miss, can we talk for a moment?" Lucas asked, his voice calm but insistent. Emily froze. "Well, no." As Emily reluctantly sat down across from Lucas, he pulled something unexpected from his pocket. A second wallet identical to the one she had just handed to her manager. "So, care to explain this?" Lucas asked, his eyes locked on hers. Emily's heart pounded as she stared at the second wallet in Lucas's hand. Her mind raced to make sense of the situation. How could there be two wallets? Was this some kind of setup? I don't understand," Emily stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. Lucas leaned forward, his calm demeanor masking the intensity in his eyes. "The wallet you handed to your manager just now, do you know for certain it's mine?" Emily blinked in confusion. "Of course it's yours. Your ID was inside, along with your business card." Lucas raised an eyebrow, a faint smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "Interesting. Then why do I still have this one?" He placed the wallet on the table between them, its sleek leather surface gleaming under the diner's fluorescent lights. Emily felt a chill run down her spine. I don't know," she murmured. Lucas didn't break eye contact. "Let me make this clear. I left my wallet on purpose. It was a test." "A test?" Emily repeated, her voice laced with disbelief. "Yes," Lucas replied, leaning back in his chair. "I wanted to see what you'd do if you found it. Honesty is a quality I value, especially in people I choose to trust." Emily's eyes widened. "Oh, you were testing me?" Lucas nodded. "But the test isn't over yet." Meanwhile, in the manager's office, Mr. Howard sat at his desk, staring at the wallet Emily had given him. Something felt off. He opened it again, flipping through the contents. It was identical to the wallet Lucas had described earlier, but a nagging feeling made him check further. Tucked into one of the hidden pockets was a small slip of paper. Written on it were the words, "This is only the beginning." Mr. Howard's brow furrowed. What was going on? Back at the table, Emily sat frozen, processing Lucas's words. "You tested me because you wanted to see if I was honest?" "Partly," Lucas admitted. "But there's more to it than that. Let me ask you something, Emily. What made you hesitate to return the wallet immediately?" Her cheeks burned with shame. She felt exposed, like he could see straight through her. "It's complicated," she said finally. Lucas tilted his head, his expression softening slightly. "Try me." Emily took a deep breath. "My father is sick. He needs treatments we can't afford. When I saw the money in your wallet, I thought about what it could do for him. But I knew it wasn't right. That's why I gave it to my manager." Lucas studied her for a moment, his gaze unreadable. "Desperation can make people do things they wouldn't normally do," he said quietly. "I understand that." Emily looked up at him, surprised. "You do?" "Yes," Lucas replied, his voice carrying a hint of sadness. "I wasn't always in the position I'm in now. I know what it's like to struggle." Emily felt a flicker of hope. Maybe he wasn't here to judge her after all. But before she could say anything, Lucas leaned forward again. There's one more thing I need to know, Emily. That wallet you gave your manager. Are you absolutely sure it's mine? Emily's stomach dropped. What do you mean? Lucas opened the second wallet, pulling out a small photo tucked inside. He slid it across the table to her. This was in my real wallet. Check the one you handed in and tell me if it's there. Emily stared at the photo, a young boy and an older man standing in front of a modest house. The boy's bright smile was unmistakably Lucas's. Her hands trembled as she stood. I'll go check. As Emily rushed to the manager's office, she couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was at play. But when she opened the wallet to search for the photo, what she found inside made her gasp aloud. It wasn't just Lucas's wallet, it held something else entirely. Emily's breath hitched as she stared at the wallet in her hands. It wasn't the picture Lucas had shown her that caught her attention, it was a folded piece of paper tucked deep inside the hidden compartment. With trembling fingers, she pulled it out and unfolded it. The note was handwritten and read, "This isn't about honesty. It's about courage. If you're reading this, come find me outside. You've passed the first test?" Emily's heart raced. What was Lucas playing at? First, he tests her honesty, and now he wanted to test her courage? Part of her wanted to march back and demand answers, but the other part, the curious, hopeful part, urged her to follow his lead. She slipped the wallet and note into her pocket and headed back to the diner floor. Lucas was no longer at the table. Instead, he stood just outside the door, his silhouette illuminated by the glow of the streetlights. As Emily approached, Lucas turned, his expression unreadable. "Did you find it?" he asked. She nodded, holding up the note. "What is this, Lucas? Why are you doing this?" He smiled faintly. "Let's take a walk. I'll explain everything." Emily followed Lucas down the quiet street, her mind spinning with questions. Finally, she couldn't hold it in any longer. "You said this wasn't just about honesty. So what is it about?" Lucas glanced at her, his gaze softer now. "Emily, I've been looking for someone like you. Someone with integrity, but also with the strength to make tough choices. You see, I wasn't lying when I said I understood struggle. My life wasn't always easy." He paused, pointing to a nearby park bench. They sat, and Lucas continued. "I grew up in a poor neighborhood. My father worked himself to the bone to provide for us, but it was never enough. I remember watching my parents struggle with impossible decisions, whether to pay for food or medicine, whether to risk everything for a better future." Emily nodded silently, her own struggles mirrored in his story. "One day," Lucas said, "someone gave my father a chance. A wealthy man saw his potential, trusted him, and helped him start over. That man's kindness changed our lives. I've spent years trying to do the same for others." Emily blinked, stunned. "So this was all a test to see if I'm worthy of your help?" Lucas shook his head. "Not just my help. My partnership." Emily stared at him, trying to process his words. "Your partnership? What does that even mean?" Lucas leaned forward, his eyes locked on hers. "I own a non-profit organization dedicated to helping people like you, those who are working hard, trying to do the right thing, but just need a little push. I test people, not to judge them, but to see if they're ready to take the opportunities one can offer." Emily's head spun. "Do you want to help me?" "I do," Lucas said. "But more than that, I want you to help others. I've been watching you, Emily. You're kind, hardworking, and selfless. Despite everything, you made the right choice with that wallet. You have what it takes to make a difference." Tears welled up in Emily's eyes. She thought of her father, her struggles, the countless nights spent worrying about how to make ends meet. "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll join me," Lucas said, smiling. A few weeks later, Emily found herself standing in the offices of Lucas's nonprofit, a place buzzing with activity and purpose. With Lucas's support, her father was receiving the medical care he needed, and Emily was training to take on a leadership role within the organization. As she walked through the office one day, she spotted Lucas sitting at his desk, reviewing files. He looked up and smiled. Ready for your first big project? Emily smiled back, her heart full. More than ready. She had gone from a waitress barely scraping by to someone who could truly make a difference. And it all started with a billionaire's wallet left on a table. Life has a funny way of testing us, and sometimes the most unexpected challenges lead to the greatest opportunities. Emily's journey reminds us that honesty, courage, and kindness can open doors we never imagined. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring tales. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.